Hopefully you can hear me from over there. So this is an introduction by way of hopefully butchering that song to the point where I won't get a copyright strike on it, to a new project. And you can see, if you read my channel description, you can see I play guitar. I've got here the old red and white US standard stratocaster from Fender. This guitar, I bought one of these cheapo eBay kits, and really I should learn how to properly maintain, or perhaps even, well, build a guitar, because this isn't my only guitar, and this one could do with a bit of care and maintenance. It needs a frets levelling, etc. So I figured, for the price that these kits cost off of eBay, which is quite remarkable, but we'll come into why the price is quite remarkable in a minute, is something I can kind of learn on, if you like, and not risk an enormous investment. So I'll just put that to one side, and I'll zoom in on this and refocus, and we'll have a look at this particular kit guitar. Okay, so probably wondering why another Strat when I've already got one, which is still in fairly good nick, plays quite nicely, as you hopefully heard my amateurish go at a certain popular song from the mid-late 70s. I wanted to look at a 12-string Strat or similar, and that's not just for things like Led Zeppelin, that's also, there's a few other interesting songs out there which I wouldn't mind being able to play, plus do my own stuff on a 12-string electric. So I thought the Fender one would be quite cool. Now, they used to have what they used to call the hockey stick neck, with a big kind of curve over thing on the top here, but the modern Fender 12 strings to have essentially a headstock that looks like that. So anyway, and then I thought to myself, well, okay, if I'm going to get a 12 string and the double neck wasn't that much more expensive, I figured I may as well get a double neck. I do have a double neck Ovation 6 and 12 string, which I find really useful for playing some things, and the versatility that it offers you, both if you want to do different tunings on the neck, but just also because you've got a 12 and a 6 string neck. So I figured it would be a nice guitar to have a go on, plus the Fender Construction, way back since the Telecaster, or the Broadcaster as it was originally known, was essentially designed specifically so that it could be made cheaply in a factory. You still have hand finishing in a lot of places, but things like the bolt-on neck, the fairly simple body construction was really all designed around mass production, or at least, you know, getting a decent volume of guitars out on the market. Something you have to kind of bear in mind. So anyway, I've been looking at guitars and building guitars and stuff on the internet. YouTube's a great resource for teaching, as most things, you know, in most subjects, and figured I'd have a crack at this. However, let's just have a look at some of the bits on here, maybe do some comparisons with my proper Fender instrument. So for a start, the headstocks. Now, the headstock's actually the trademark piece on a guitar, and there are the bit that they go after if Fender are going to do any kind of intellectual property pursuit, then it's usually the headstock that's the piece that they can legally trademark, and then pursue, you know, a counterfeiter. Now, I'm not ever going to sell this, so there's probably not much of an issue there, but anyway, let's have a look. So what they give you on this kit to start with is essentially a blank headstock with the holes drilled out for the tuning machines. Unfortunately, they don't give you much work here or much meat or wood to play with to get that full shape. So what I've done is essentially approximated that, and I'll get something close to it. I've marked that out. I'm not sure if you can see that on the camera, but I've marked that one out there. Similarly, the Fender headstocks, you can find templates out on the internet for those, and that's the US standard, which is the same as the red and white guitar you just seen. So taking that template, positioned it approximately, because of course this pre-drilled headstock, the holes don't line up exactly, which is a bit of a pain, but got it as close as I can, and I've marked that out for shaping. There are some differences actually. This curve underneath the neck here, if you can see that, is slightly more pronounced actually than mine, but whatever, that's a good approximation. So I've cut that out, printed it 1:1, cut that out and used it and traced around it, so I can cut that away and sand away until I can get that shape. So that'll be that. Now we come to some of the issues with the where they've really gone to town to get these things as low as possible. In fact, the single neck 12 string, I think the kit is about £47. I think this one was about 150 something odd. Considering you're getting two guitars, that's not too bad. Generally, I think the 6 string kits are around the sort of 70, 80, 90 pound mark. It depends, you know, on supply, demand, what they're getting through warehouses and stuff. Anyway, so the first thing is the neck fit, and the necks don't fit. Now, I've seen another video where a custom guitar shop has taken a Telecaster kit and they got their kit in, and in fact their neck was as wobbly as anything in the pocket here. This one is the opposite. There's not enough room in the pocket here. So I've just refocused tighter on this area here. So this will not fit into here. Now, oddly enough, there's a fillet of wood they've stuck inside this pocket, which I'll take out, and that may actually still fit, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like it's going to be a bit of sanding work on the edges of the neck to get it to fit into the pocket. Similarly, this is exactly the same. It's slightly oversized, but better that it's oversized than undersized. Also, this piece here on because Fender do have made a double neck stratocaster, and this piece of wood here needs to come off. It's not on the original, so that needs to be kind of shaped around and taken off. That will not last long anyway. You can see that the way that wobbles there, hopefully. So that's one area. I'm probably going to have to fill all these holes. I'll see what it looks like in turn, because essentially once I've fitted the neck and got the neck to fit, and you'll also see the pocket shape at the back here is not the same, so that neck is going to have to be sanded in order to fit right up against there, into the pocket there, so it's a nice tight fit. So that's going to be one of the first jobs to do on this. And of course everything is doubled up on this pretty much, so we're going to get that in, and then what I'll have to do is look at the alignment of the neck, essentially, so the centre line probably of these pockets here, the pickup cavities, electronics cavities underneath, and then the bridge placement, tremolo placement. Now, I don't use a tremolo, so I don't really need this arm, and I could put a hardtail bridge on the back. I'll see what's out there, and maybe just even replace this one for maybe a Fender unit or some other unit. Let's just take that out there. And I don't particularly like this particular kind of bridge tremolo thing, because you've got a lot of pressure on this edge point here, and if you're quite violent with your tremolo, then you'll tend to dig this into the wood of the body there. So we might replace that for something else. I mean, that's fairly cheap, but then again, that's why it's cheap. The 12-string bridge, different matter, that's going to be fixed. These, I think there is one other company that makes these. I think they're Japanese, might be Goto or something like that. I think they're called. This is a 12-string bridge, so each of these bridges, saddles here, adjustable saddles, has got actually a separate adjustment for the treble string and the bass string for that 12-string pair. So we'll have to have a look at that. The knobs, they're as cheap as they come. And there's 2 volumes, one for each neck and 2 tones. Now I'm not going to do that, we'll come to that in a bit. So this scratch plate also, it's not too bad. I've seen worse. I mean, I've had some, before I bought that was my second ever guitar. The guitar I had before that US Strat was a horrendous Korean thing from the mid-80s, which was very cheap, but was absolutely dire, and this is actually pretty good compared to that one. So, but because I'll be using a different electronic setup to what they've supplied here, I'll be getting some, in fact I've ordered some different scratch plate material, and we'll make a new scratch plate. Similarly, actually, if I put the bridges on and then put the scratch plate into position with the bridges, you can see there's an enormous gap around here which shouldn't actually be here. That should be fairly tight up against the bridge, which comes to another thing as well. The bridge position itself is going to need, all the bridges positions themselves going to need checking against the scale length, because if anybody knows their music theory, your bridge position, and it's probably on the middle 2 strings if I remember correctly, should be, excuse me, so the saddle where the string comes over the top, the distance between there and the nut essentially should be twice the distance from the nut to the 12th fret here. So we're going to have to check the pre-drilled holes are in the right place. If they're not, they're all going to need filling. The bridges are going to need adjusting for position, and then they're going to need re-drilling and fixing. Otherwise the fretboard or the scale just won't match the string lengths basically, so that's going to need doing. I suspect it will be slightly out. From what I've seen of the Crimson Guitars Telecaster project, the scale was right in itself but didn't quite match any recognised scale length. The Fender scale length I think is 25.5 inches, so we'll have to sort all that out. Similarly, the scratch plate, as I said, I'm going to change the electronics, so what I'm going to have is a switch here which will select the neck, still have the 5-way selector, the volume and the 2 tone controls as per standard Strat electronics, and then I'll have 2 phase switches for the middle pickups as well, which will give us some interesting sound combinations. So a fair bit of work to do there. Now we'll come to the hardware. I think that it comes with, these are fairly cheap plates. Now the problem with chrome plating everything is you don't know what's underneath, and as these are obviously from China, the likelihood is that some of this stuff might be pot metal in any case. So I might look at, and they've got plastic pads, which seems a bit bizarre because you don't really want any flex on the bottom of that, so I might look at replacing those. I might just use them. Let's see what else we've got here. So those are the plates which fit under the bottom of the heel there, and bolt the neck to the body, and that's probably the critical point, if you like, on this particular guitar. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the other bits. I'll just make sure it's in shot, all the other parts, and then we can look at the rest of the instrument. Okay, so let's have a look. Right, quite actually all guitar manufacturers, even the cheap Korean ones from the middle of the 1980s, supply you with an instrument lead, but these are utter garbage, so we won't do anything with those. I'll probably replace these fairly cheap plasticky, well, I mean they're so thin in places that they've obviously gone as cheap as they can on that. The tremolo cover that sits on the back of the body here, that'll need replacing. That's just a single piece of plastic that's been routed by the looks of it. We've got various screws, we've got the pickup fixing screws and springs, the strap horns, they're pretty cheap as well, they'll be going. I'll replace those with this standard Shaler strap lock system that I use on all my guitars through bitter experience, having had these things actually come out or even snap off through vigorous stage performances. The screws for the scratch plate, they're fine. The pots look about as cheap as you can get for the volume and tone pots, so I'll replace those for probably for the CTS. I think the CTS supply Fender and most of the instrument makers these days, although CTS aren't exactly renowned themselves for being the best pots you can get. I might research that a bit. We've got some braided cable which I'll have to probably replace and get a reel of shielded braided cable where the ground essentially wraps around the live core to provide shielding. We've got the string inserts for the back of the let's have a look, see what they are. Yes, they're for the back of the 12-string bridge. 6 of the strings on the 12-string bridge thread through the back of the bridge and 6 come up through the body. So that's those. We've got the tremolo spring anchor here, that's okay, I mean they'll be fine. The pickups are probably evil things that we probably don't want. Again, I'll look at see what we've got and maybe just go for a set of standard Fender pickups. Not interested in humbuckers and stuff on this particular instrument, and we'll see how we go with those. Got my eye on some Fender noiseless single coil pickups. They quite handily provide a set of strings, so you've got 6 for the 6 neck and 12 for the 12 neck. We've got the 18 tuning heads, and they're all they're not too bad actually. I've certainly played guitars with worse. There's a bit of roughness inside the kind of little worm gearbox bit there, but we'll see how those goes. If they really annoy me, I'll probably end up, they look like they're kind of, you know, the seconds out of a Shaler factory, so probably get hold of those if necessary to replace them. So let's see, what else have we got on here? So I mean that's pretty much it. I mean, oh, they didn't supply an instrument jack or the cover with the kit. That was obviously an omission. Luckily that's about the cheapest part on the guitar, so it's easy enough to replace. So I've got some switches on order, as I said, for the electronics. I'm just going to focus over to the body as well again, because there's some work needed on the body. Right, so looking at the body, this is obviously a CNC machine, and they've done some sanding on it because I can't see any tooling marks as such on the body. But there's some inconsistencies around these horns here. You can see where they've done a round over, looks like they've hand routed it, and in order to avoid any kind of tear out on the tips of the horns there, they've basically whizzed the router off and then come around the other way. The same with this one, they've whizzed the router around here and out. And the way these things will be machined is that they'll have probably an enormous great slab, you know, an 8 by 4 foot slab of wood, because this is made up of 4 pieces. It looks like, I think it's basswood or lime, if I'm not mistaken. And they'll have an enormous slab of this. They'll put it into a CNC machine and they'll probably cut, you know, a dozen of these bodies out of the same kind of sheet of wood, and because that will just cut down massively on their manufacture time. So by nesting shapes onto the CNC machine, they can do that. So yeah, there's some inconsistencies there. It's not bad actually. I mean, it's pretty smooth. Dog hairs off my dogs and old cat. You can see a bit of tear out in the cavity. Let's just have a look inside there as well. So they've, and again, what they've done is they've, yeah, that's obviously CNC'd rather than hand routed, because you can see the precise they're going for. It looks like a 5mm depth of cut there. I can see ridges on the inside. There's a bit of tear out. Doesn't too much matter with the instrument cavities. Interestingly enough, of course, they've routed this what's called the universal pocket, so you haven't got, you know, 3 separate single coil pockets in here for each pickup. You've just got one long cavity, so you can fit humbuckers or single coils, you know, as you wish. So that makes design, because they'll just transfer this over to every Strat style, this particular pocket. And in CAD and CAM, they just transfer, copy and paste that onto every guitar body style that they want, and away you go. They've drilled all the cable routing, I think. Yes, there's one there. So that's good news. You don't have to mess about with any of that. Oh yes, right, the contour at the back here, basically what they've done here is they've just taken a flat bevel. You probably can't see that on the camera. Let me see if I can point it out. It runs, avoid, it runs about there. Now the advantage obviously of having a proper Fender instrument is I can compare it to that, and the Fender instrument runs from there to there. If you imagine a single body, runs there to there. So in fact what I've done is I've put my Strat body on top and I've just marked a line there, so I'll have to do a bit more work to make that a proper contour. Just move these out of the way. The gut contour, place where you hang your beer belly onto. It's not too bad actually. I think we can live with that. A bit rough on the inside there. As I say, the whole thing will need sanding. It'll need sealing. It'll need sanding and sealing and sanding again. Finish I'm going to go for on this. I did think about trying to match the Torino red. That might be quite difficult to do. You can get Fiesta red, which is a standard Fender colour. What's the other one? Candy apple. Red is another one. But what I think I'm going to do with this is I'm going to try and go a bit advanced and try essentially a sunburst, but using blue. So there'll be a dark blue, and we'll see how the grain shows on here. It doesn't look too bad, the grain actually at the moment. We'll see how that looks with a kind of dark blue lacquer and then a very dark, almost black midnight blue burst around the edge, which should look good. I think we're having I've ordered a pearl white scratch plate material rather than just a standard white one. I wouldn't use this, it's not the right shape for a start, but it's good enough to use for the start of a template. So that's another project basically, a double neck Fender Stratocaster, 12 and 6 string, and hopefully you guys will keep up with this. It's probably going to take a while to do this particular project. You know, some of the lacquers you've got to leave for weeks before you can do anything with them, especially final polishing. Luckily I'm quite adept at and have experience with automotive polishing using diminishing abrasive compounds and things like that, which you should be able to use some of that experience on the body here. The neck, I'm going to leave that's maple, I think. Leave the maple neck. A lot of my instruments have maple neck, not all of them, but a lot of them do, so I'm quite happy with a maple neck. Likely try a satin finish on the rear and the headstock, and then maybe a gloss on the front, I'm not sure yet, or possibly just oil the front. That might be safer rather than sitting there scraping lacquer off the frets. I'm probably going to have enough trouble levelling and straightening the neck and levelling those anyway. So there's another new project. So that, along with the CNC stuff for the cockpit, is going to keep me busy for a while. As I say, I'm going to have to route here, pocket out here for 3 toggle switches. I'm not sure whether I'm going to use CNC machine or hand route that. I'll decide. It's only a, you know, fairly simple shape. It's not like I'm doing this kind of stuff, but we'll see how we go. So thank you for watching again, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video, and we'll make a start, probably the next coming up in the next video. But as with the cockpit project, I'll jump about a bit, and hopefully it'll all come good in the end. Thanks a lot.